just going over last month's minutes. We talked about middle school reopening at our last meeting. The following week, middle schools were going to reopen again throughout the city. In-person teachers went in on the 24th to prepare for blended learning, look over their classrooms, see if there's anything that they needed to kind of move around or set up. Programmers worked on accommodating as many in-person or blended learners as they could. We have try to program in all of our self-contained students, as well as students with disabilities that really benefited from the 5-day a week of in-person learning, which we did do for a number of the, especially a couple of 8th graders, as well as other students with disabilities. Parents needed, again, consent in order for the child to be randomly tested for COVID in order to be in person. One of the major concerns at the time was, what would happen with opening, since it's 2 or 3 days after coming back from an extended break. And then at the time, we did have a kitchen staff that tested positive for COVID. The kitchen and cafeteria was closed down. There was no meals for the week, and it was all disinfected by our great custodial team. National Honor Society was brought up, and we talked about, some of the things that students can still do to receive service credit or service hours. And one great thing that was mentioned by Sandra was writing letters for food banks, and every 3 hours that you spend writing letters, you get 1 hour of service credit. So that's always a good virtual or social distance opportunity for students who couldn't find anything else. And we talked about working on a list of possibly doing virtual of opportunities for students, so that it's easier for them to refer back to. So hopefully we can get that list together. We did talk about incoming students, and I'm sure Mr. Berman can talk about the final decision and what actually was submitted later on. But at last month's meeting, we discussed what groups of students we wanted and how we wanted to organize it. Whether it would be 2 ICT and 1 self-contained class, or 2 self-contained and 1 ICT class. We know that for our ACES program that we have 14 seats available for September. And unfortunately, this school year, we didn't get all of those seats filled, and money was taken back. Normally, they do fund the empty seats, but they did not do that this year. So we hope to have all those seats, ACES seats, filled for next year. The applications for incoming 6th graders for 2021 did have the academy structure. So we're hoping that we can start off the school year in that way. About 99 students per academy, incoming 6th graders per academy, due to 33 students in a class and about 3 class per academy. And then, because usually we have about 300 students coming in all together. In terms of the budget, we did have to set aside about, have about $30,000 set aside for any special education changes due to students changing program or services. So that was put aside, anything that was changed between September through December. We also talked about the air conditioner project for funding that, as well as the Reso A grant was due February 15th. And we originally talked about using that grant money or applying for it to work on the guidance suite and updating it a bit. However, after looking at the application there, it just made more sense to use the money or apply for the money to make renovations for the girls and boys gym upgrade, which would be $750,000. And as always, any Reso A project is always in compliance with ADA regulations. There were 2 questions that were brought up. Thank you to Kathy for bringing this up. And one of them was about returning to an academy structure. Unfortunately, we cannot do that at this time with the medical accommodations for teachers and just not having enough in-person teachers really to go back into that model yet for now. And then we also talked about the great event of No One Eats Alone lunch, that all the kids had a great time seeing other people in their grade. Perhaps next time it could be by academy, and then they can kind of see each other within the academies. And then we also talked about possibly switching around executive functioning and SEL classes. 8th graders were kind of missing out on some of the arts or creative writing classes. So for the 3rd marking period, there has been some changes. So more for the 6th grader SEL and executive functioning, and giving 8th graders the opportunities to have art and creative writing or music. NIA, the video is up for the play. Thank you, Mr. Kaplan, Mr. Hederman, for working on that. And we're hoping to start SHSAT prep for current 7th graders after spring break. And then PTO update. So far, we're talking about 3 different options for graduation. Plan A is what we've done in previous years. The Ford Amphitheater, hopefully. Plan B would be the schoolyard, and then Plan C would be something virtual. It really depends on how the situation with COVID, how it is, further on in the school year. Class pictures or senior pictures have been set for April 24th, where gowns will be mailed directly to our 8th graders. And instead of a talent show, we talked about perhaps having an open mic, since it worked out so well for the 8th graders on the February 11th event. So hopefully maybe that will work out. Leandra looks very excited and happy. And then some questions about opt-in. There won't be another opt-in period, officially from DOE. And really for us as a school, we're already kind of at max capacity in terms of in-person learners. But all our blended cohorts, as well as the additional students with disabilities and self-contained students coming back. So we're not able to accommodate for more students to switch back to blended. And then we did look over the school experience survey with the results, and I believe once the results are actually published for the public, that Mr. Berman can let us know where we can find that information. So if there's any questions, please let me know. I did catch myself write a typo, so I will fix that and send it out again to everyone. Mr. File, we ready?
Okay, that was a really great job you did, Winnie.
Thank you.
Nobody does it better. So on the agenda, the first item is feedback regarding the reopening of our school. I guess everything was good until we closed it. I don't know. And does anyone have any feedback? I could say that I thought we were doing pretty well. We were trying our best. I kind of noticed the same thing. The classes are very, very quiet. With the social distancing, not a lot of kids, the masks. It's not like being back in school, but again, as far as safety, I think we did a spectacular job. As far as getting the kids motivated and getting some energy in the building, it's a constant challenge. Did anyone hear anything different, or? All right. So that's
I asked on Facebook and on WeChat, and everyone, whoever was there didn't have a problem or didn't articulate.
Yeah, I think as far as following the safety protocols, the kids are great. I didn't see anything. I would take a guess to say that whoever did get COVID did not get it in our building, but I guess there's really no way to know. But like I said, extremely cooperative. I want to compliment all the kids that have that go back, they really just follow the rules. All right, so that's that. I think we're going to try to make it a quick meeting. So new superintendent, new chancellor. I know Mr. Berman has had several contacts with the new superintendent, and we were at a meeting yesterday where we talked about, I guess, how the teachers are going to be, observed and rated. I don't know that there's a ton of interest like throughout this committee on that, but it was nice to hear him speak. He sounds like a very reasonable guy. Mr. Berman, did you want to weigh in on him or the chancellor?
No, I'll just tell you that I have had a couple of meetings with the new superintendent. Seems really, really positive. We didn't really talk about the future much, other than some of the, I mentioned some of the challenges that we have with bringing in a different variety of students and how we're going to approach that. And he's really on the same page with us with how we want to approach learning as we always have, sort of pushing students and expecting and having very high expectations for students in a rigorous, challenging environment, while at the same time providing all of the supports that students need in order to succeed. And we've been doing that for a long time. And I think we're really good at it. And we're going to continue to be really good at it. And I think he's going to support us at what we do. So that was nice to see. It was also great to see, I think, just the fact that one of the first public meetings that he had was with UFT chapter leaders and principals together was very significant. In fact, I've been working for the Department of Education for a long time, and I've never been to a meeting with principals or supervisors or anyone and UFT chapter leaders. So I think that was a really a wonderful way to introduce himself to the community and really demonstrate how important collaboration is. And it was a pleasure to be able to share with him a lot of the things that we did, ranging from our curriculum and our structure and our academies and our history and some of the people, whether they're parents and students and teachers, and talked about this group and the students in this group and all of the things that we do to try and collaborate and have a community. And I think he really appreciated that. And he was very, very impressed with our face outside of the school building, right? So it's hard to see our face now because school's not open. So our face is all sort of out there in other places. And he was really very, very impressed with what he saw about our school, whether it was about the student work that's up there on the swerve or things that the lead group has done, what the mentors have done, our open house video and the work that the children did to put all of those things together. And I think he really gets a sense that our school has become, and this is very much I want to say a credit to Mrs. Siddiqui. And since she's been in our school, I mean, we've always been student-centered, but it's really been very much that way and clear that our students are deeply enmeshed in all of the things that we do. And I thank you, Ms. Siddiqui, for really spearheading a lot of those initial projects that brought the students these great opportunities. So yeah, so maybe I said more than you wanted to hear about the superintendent.
I'm going to actually meet the superintendent in the next couple of weeks also. And what I want to stress to him is, you know, if he talks about our school at all. But I'd like to just stress going beyond the politics of should there be a gifted school, should there not be, you know, all the, you know, very, very dramatic disagreements. You know, I just want him to realize that we're a very nice school, like a nice community. We all care about each other. It's not a cutthroat place. It's a place that we all work together. Because I think that sort of gets lost, and we really, yeah. Kelvin says there's not really any bullying. We're all just nerds. There's also this great dean who's in on that and stuff. I was kidding. So I think that sometimes gets lost, that we really do care about the kids, and more than the average school.
And one of the things that I told him too, and I think that sets us apart. But what I see every day, although I haven't seen it in a while since I haven't been in the school in a while, but you can see how the kids really care for each other and how they look out for each other. And I don't know that that's really typical everywhere, but it's certainly typical in our school. So,
yeah,
you know.
All right, so that was that. Hold on one sec. Let's see what's next on the agenda. Update on incoming students.
Yeah, so I spoke with Matt Bergini from enrollment, and we had put together that we generally wanted to keep our, as we talked about, we generally wanted to keep our enrollment the same, right, without losing, you know, too many kids, and keep our staffing the same. So we set up the program with 3 incoming classes for each academy, right? And so with those numbers of general education students, that comes out with the district percentage of students with disabilities at around 16%. That comes out to around 48 students with disabilities, okay? 12 of those students are ACES students. The other 36, we talked about whether to have 2 self-contained, 1 ICT, 2 self-contained. But as it really pans out, it makes a lot more sense for us, since we're going to have a wider variety of students performing at different levels, to have the additional support of the ICT teacher, since we'll be able to serve more students that way. So with the 48 students with disabilities, 12 ACEs, 12 self-contained, so there'll be a separate self-contained class coming in. And out of those 3 academies, those 3 classes in each academy, 2 academies, 1 class in each, will be an ICT class. So that's what we had planned for. That's what I asked Matt Bergini, and he said, that looks great. He said, I think we can do that. And that was great to hear. So the only issue that I can foresee really are, what do we do about our attrition? And how will the pandemic and having students admitted via lottery, how will it affect the attrition rate? I don't know. That's a big X variable that we don't know. So then the question is, do we ask for more seats? Do we ask for more offers than we have seats and plan for students to drop out? I don't know. What if they all show up? Then we're stuck. Or do we just deal with the students who drop out? I see you, Kathleen. I'll get to you in one second. The alternative, and what I talked to them about, was the waiting list. The problem is the waiting list will likely expire before school starts. We lose the majority of our students on the first day of school because parents know they're not coming, but for some reason they don't want to give up the seat and tell us they're not coming. See, if they would tell us they're not coming in August, we can backfill that seat with folks on the waiting list. But if they don't tell us and they just keep the seat and just not show up in September, that hurts us. So, and as you know, each student is between $5 and, depending on their services, could be up to $20,000 for each student who doesn't show up. So I'm going to try and get that waiting list extended as much as we possibly can. I still don't see it opening up by after school starts. So Mrs. McDonald, I know you had a question or comment.
I was actually going to ask if the wait list could help with that, but you answered it. So
yeah, I kind of thought you were going there. Yes. Yeah, definitely the wait list. It helped us a little bit last year, but we still lost 10 students, 10 sixth graders. And don't forget, that's 10 sixth graders that we lose. They're also not going to be there in the 7th grade, and they're not going to be there in the 8th grade. So we lose that funding all across there, which is,
Is that something that Preto can do on his own, or that has to be DOE?
No, he can't do anything about that.
So if we want to try to get it extended, we have to go through the DOE and advocate to the DOE to get these waiting lists extended to the middle of, which is something that we've talked about.
Well, that becomes different. I can understand the difficulties with the waiting list once school opens, because everybody's got their classes in place, right? And so now if we have our classes in place and we start losing kids from those classes, that affects our budget. And that's, I can see how that becomes problematic for the DOE. What would help us, and this is something that I plan to speak to the superintendent about, is being able to admit students in the 7th and the 8th grade and to fill those empty seats that we have. That would be very, very helpful. See, I think we're going to get, we have less of a problem this year pulling students from other schools because of the lottery. I don't think schools are going to really care. When we're pulling screened kids, they care because they don't want to lose their best and their brightest kids. I don't blame them. So we have to play nice in the sandbox, I guess, to the greatest extent that we can. So that's our update with students. Any questions or comments about that? I think we'll be fine. I really do. It happens every year. We manage, some of the things that we do in our school are very expensive and cost a lot of money. Having academies costs a lot of money. You wouldn't think so, but it really does. Because if you think about it, our classes aren't full, right? Might have 30 kids in a class, 32, 28, especially in the 8th grade. In a regular school without academies, you just collapse those classes. Here, we can't do that. And so there's an expense because of that breakage. And it's part of what we do. And we happily understand that investment in funds for our kids is well worth it. Speaking of funds, what's connected with the enrollment, although independent, is the register projections for next year. The register projections are what our budget's based on. So the projections basically look at last year's enrollment and they basically copy it over and they fund us based on those things. And then we look at that and we make the changes and we say, no, it's not really going to look like that. It's going to kind of look like this a little bit. It's pretty close this year. I think it's only off by about 6 students, which is pretty good. But they're off by special education students, so that winds up, to be a lot of money. But so those register projections are submitted and those are in. And if anything, it's really not a problem for us because historically they always give us way too much money. as you know, and we've talked about that. Those are the set-asides that we always talk about, which now are all gone. The set-asides are gone. Everything's gone. Our budget, maybe I'm jumping around on the agenda a little bit, but these things are related anyway. We have approximately $350,000 in our budget right now to be spent. Problem is, it needs to be spent quickly because the budget deadlines are coming soon. You'd think, well, it's only just, is it February? It just turned March. Why now? Well, all purchases and things have to be done by June 30th. And so because of the backlog with things and inventory and whatnot, they really want all of the purchases, especially the technology purchases, done by Friday. That means that we have to put the money where it needs to be and make the purchases and get everything done for equipment by Friday. We're going to be buying equipment because $350,000 is an awful lot of markers and chalk and crayons, right? But the other side of that was the air conditioning project, which I know was brought up in the minutes too. And I just don't think that's going to happen. The plant manager has unfortunately not been pushing this. I've been emailing him. Basically, he tells me, don't worry, it'll get done. Well, I need to know by tomorrow. I need, so we don't lose $350,000, I need the architect's report, I need the estimate, and I need assurances that the air conditioning project is going to get done by June 30th, by tomorrow. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So what do we do with $350,000? Well, trust me, yes, Mr. Labella.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Please do.
Just thinking out loud, are we transitioning to digital textbooks? And I understand that the DOE has an allowance set where you could get a subscription. It used to be only 1 year. Now it's a subscription you can do up to 3 years. And is that something that could help us?
Okay. That's funny. Yes, we're moving. So you ask a few things there. Yes, we're moving towards digital textbooks. We started moving towards digital textbooks several years ago, and I got us a phenomenal deal on subscriptions for textbooks, which saved us well over $100,000. But then I got in a lot of trouble because we're not allowed to buy subscriptions. Remember I told you the air conditioning project and the purchases have to be done by June 30th of this year? Mm-hmm. Well, that applies for everything, including subscriptions. We are not allowed to purchase subscriptions that extend beyond June 30th of the year, that we got the money. Unless you've heard something recently.
Yes, I believe so. You might want to check it out.
I will definitely check it out.
You have a separate Galaxy allotment, separate money for textbooks, right? That they have there is a NISTL allocation, a New York State textbook law allocation. It's based on a per capita amount for each student. Mm-hmm. And it's based on last year's register. You still have that money set aside? For textbooks. We get NISTL money for hardware, and we get NISTL money for software. The NISTL textbook money is usually about $56,000 to $60,000. The hardware and the software money are generally around $10,000 a piece. You can commingle that money, and you can use NISTL textbook money for computers and hardware or software or back and forth. Or you can give back all that money and get the core curriculum. So you might want to check. Unless you're really swift and spend all of the NISTL money really quickly and have only a little bit left for the core curriculum, so you can order all the core curriculum stuff anyway and have the DOE pay for it, which is
exactly what we did this year. So we got the curriculum and the stuff this year. So bully for us. Don't know if that's going to happen again next year, but sure going to try.
Well, we rely on your acumen, Mr. Berman, to get this done.
Real well this year.
But yeah, just check on, because I believe they extended the subscription to 3 years. You might want to check.
So really where we're at is, and here's really what the thinking is to replace some of our aging technology in the classrooms. In other words, some of the old Chromebooks. We have a couple of rooms that have very old iPads, which are not the greatest learning tools. So we're looking at replacing some of the aging technology with MacBook Air computers rather than the Chromebooks or the iPads. They're better machines. They last at least twice as long as the other machines, probably longer. They are a little bit more expensive, but they are better machines. The other thing is replacing some of the aging active panels in the classrooms with some of the newer, much nicer 4K and 8K panels for the classrooms. So that's kind of where we're at and what we're thinking. I'd love some thoughts and some feedback on, those general ideas. We have been buying all kinds of things for teachers, from saxophones to skeletons and everything in between. There was an order for some skeletons, and one was really expensive and the others were kind of cheaper. And I said, well, why are we buying the cheaper ones? And they said, well, I don't know. We thought the other ones were expensive. And I said, well, the other one's better? Well, yeah, well, then get the other ones. So we have things coming in, but it's really, to me, it's really important that we don't lose money because it's so hard to come by. And I mean, it would just be a huge failure on my part to not be able to get the resources that are available to our students and get it to them. So yeah, I would say to not purchase digital textbooks right now, since we've got them for next year. I told you I got this great deal on those, they were actually on the science discovery tech books, but I think we kind of got a fine is basically what it amounts to. And even though we paid for them 1 year in full, I got to pay for them again. And it's killing me to have to do that. But anyway, I tried. Mrs. McDonald.
Yes, hi. I'm talking about digital textbooks. Brings up a question I've had for a while. So for students who have textbooks that they've had since last March and haven't had the chance to return, are you going to want those back? Yeah,
we're going to want them back.
Okay.
That we will, but we'll get them back in due.
No rush, I take it.
No, definitely not.
So there'll be some opportunity before the end of the year to, like, for 8th graders to return them?
Yes, and that's what we did last year with the 8th graders. It is really important that we do get those books back, because even though I'm a tech guy, I still really want to have, whenever we can, a book in the students' hands as a resource, as an instructional tool, for research, what have you. And they're really, really expensive. And it's hard to find a textbook for less than $100 now each. And for some reason, the textbook companies, they don't negotiate with me like they used to. But
they're hanging on by a thread, I think.
Yeah, no, there's not much. You can't get blood from a stone.
Yeah, but I agree with you. It's always better for the kids to have the book. So
yeah, I want
to return those whenever there's an opportunity.
So we will get those back, and we also spend a lot of money historically on textbooks for the classroom. So the kids don't have to bring the books back and forth, which is great. You would think, oh, well, I don't know if that's a wise investment, but it winds up having your textbooks last a lot longer. Of course, they're not being brought back and forth to school and thrown around in backpacks and stuff like that. Except, of course, with some of our students who just can't let those books go. They got to bring them anyway. And, you know, you've seen some of them with those backpacks that look like they're going to just break. The student, not the backpack, but they carry them anyway. I'm sorry. What else is on our agenda here today, Mr. File? And by the way, if anyone has any questions or comments or concerns, I'd like to know, I do want to know what you think about our technology purchases, if you think that's the way to go. We have about 11 boards that are the oldest ones in the school. We could replace a lot of those. And we have a lot of carts that we could replace. So I put a little spreadsheet together. We could probably get, let's estimate it at around, figure, give or take, we could do all 11 of those classrooms with the big 85-inch boards, and also get around 300 MacBook Airs.
Mr. Berman?
For the money that we have left. So the 300, it's about between 8 to 9 classrooms replacing the hardware that they have there with new hardware. Yes, sir.
So can we go ahead and get the workup for the 2 air conditioner projects and just have them there? So maybe, no, you can't?
I tried that. Yeah. Well, there's separate software or portal that the school construction authority uses. So we would transfer money from our Galaxy budget, which is waiting there, waiting to be spent, to this maker space, whatever they call it, so that it can be used for this project.
But how much were we talking about? Maybe we can make this a longer term project. How much?
$350,000.
That's for both the cafeteria and the auditorium?
That's what we have left. That's what we have right now.
What I'm asking is how much is each of the product? How much are each of the projects?
All of our responsibilities for the rest of the school year, that's what we have left.
No, but how much are each of the projects? If we want to look into,
I don't know. That's what I'm waiting for.
No,
that's why we can't proceed.
But they won't even give you a ballpark.
No. And at this point, a ballpark is not even okay. I need to know, I need to have the architect's drawings with whatever work that the architect does so that this project can get done by June 30th.
Forget the June 30th date. Can we go forward with scoping out the project, getting a price, and then maybe PTO or some other way to fundraise it down the road?
Where are you going to get $350,000 for an air conditioner project? That's not going to happen.
Maybe if it, I mean, so is it 150 for the auditorium and 150 for the cafeteria?
Weren't you with me when we dealt with the coffee
Oh,
shop?
yes. The coffee shop,
Okay.
yes.
In the real world, that might be that much. I'm going to say it's at least $500,000 before they even step foot in the door.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But, and maybe we can pare it down and get something with our 350. But no, I mean, come on, that slab of granite was how much? $67,000? Something like that? For a piece
We're all taxpayers here. It should make us all angry.
No, I won't make you that angry because you'll be too angry. No, you don't want to know about the school construction authority. What else is on our so thoughts about that? Should does that sound like it makes sense? Boys and girls, what do you think? Should we get MacBooks? Do you like the Chromebooks? The iPads just don't do it for us.
I think the MacBooks might be better because I actually have a Chromebook because I wasn't able to have my own computer. And some of the things, like some of the features that would be on a normal Zoom, like don't really work on a Chromebook. Like, for example, you see how Kelvin, he's like upside down. I'm not able to do that on this computer. Like for the settings, it's just
Maybe we should
telling
switch
you
computers
that
with
everything's
Kelvin.
on and off.
I got you, and that was some of the feedback that we got too, Leandra. Thank you. That the Chromebooks are really limited towards that Google Chrome world. When why do we want to limit ourselves to that? And with a MacBook, that opens up a whole world of possibilities and software and applications. And yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's move on. I know that people want to get outside. So let's see. I don't know how this made it to the agenda, but I'm happy.
Stephen actually emailed me that, but he's not here, so I'm not sure if we want to still talk about it.
Remote learning camera policy?
Yeah, so he was saying that if teachers could be like, kind of give more discretion when requiring students to turn on their cameras due to students having limited technology and resources, and whether, their software or, hardware even supports it. Because, I guess I see a point, in some of these issues, because there are students who, cannot have the camera on while they're working on a document if they're on an iPad, I guess, which is another reason why we should probably be replacing those iPads, because, they can't simultaneously be doing the same thing, having camera on and be active in the Zoom while also on a document typing something or a different window.
I mean, I really can't be hypocritical about this. I just can't. The DOE's policy is that the cameras don't have to be on. That's the DOE's policy for kids and for teachers, by the way, as you know, or as you may or may not know. And it's I don't want students to be penalized because for whatever reason they don't put their cameras on, and we're not allowed to. It's not a thing. So yeah, I would say if that's an issue for any family, they should certainly bring it to our attention, and we'll address that. I think our teachers work hard to inspire the kids to sort of want to do that, but
sometimes too you have to listen to people, because I think at the beginning of the year the concept was that, if the kids' cameras are on, they'll connect better with the lessons. But so many kids don't want to turn on their cameras, and they feel really strongly about it. And I hear it from my own kids. I don't know. I mean, they're the ones having this experience. There's a lot of burnout. So, going to what Mr. Berman said, we have to follow the central DOE.
Yeah, the policy is set. It's what the policy is. So we can't.
But, just to say, even if the policy wasn't set, I don't want to call pushback, but like resistance, like legitimate resistance, legitimate comments, like that a lot of kids aren't comfortable having their camera on.
Sure.
Sometimes you have to listen to people and hear what they're saying and say, hey, even if, to me, it's no big deal to turn on the camera. To a lot of people, it is. So
I think the idea of us remaining continuing to be super sensitive to the needs of our students is really important, and we have to keep doing that. There's no reason for us to stop doing that now, and our hope is that as soon as possible we're back in school like normal, and this is a vision in the past, and we move past it, bringing along the things that are going to help us move forward, like maybe some of this new technology and instructional supports and things that'll help us.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, great. What else we got?
What else do we have? Oh, John Patrick Hedman, camera on, ready to go.
How are we doing?
IA update.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
For joining us.
Yep. So the play is up and it looks great. For anyone who hasn't watched it yet, Vito got it up there for us. Thank you very much. The next thing we kind of have our sights on is what we want to do test prep wise for the spring. And I was speaking to one of our teachers, Miss Ing, who runs the math, and she thinks it might be beneficial to send like a Google form home, one to 8th graders that have already participated and one maybe to 7th graders to see. We kind of have to decide if we want to go with spending a lot of money on Kaplan again, like we did last spring, or if we like it better when we have our in-house teachers running the program. So that's something we can look into. I don't know if either of our students that are here today did participate in Kaplan last year in the spring?
Wait, do you mean the SHSAT prep?
Yes, that was through Kaplan, that like you had the outside service that we paid for. Did you do that or no?
No, I did with Mr. Steiner.
Okay. Well, whatever. It's something to think about, Mr. Berman. We'll talk about if we want to send something home to students to see what we're thinking about that. But that's what's going forward. And there's also, for students that participate in all the things we're doing, there's a bunch of virtual trips going during spring break. So people should check in online and they're all up there for signing up. That's about it for now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hederman.
Yep. The song? Yeah.
If I can give some feedback on the SHSAT prep, my son did do it along with the children of a few parents that I know, and we are on the WeChat group. We're very excited for that particular program as parents, because not only does it, it's a reputable tutoring service, and the actual book is provided, so they go through some of the lessons, albeit it could have been more more days, but it's not every day, which is fine, but you still get that big book which you can utilize even after the course ends. So I think if there is funding for it, it would be a great opportunity for the 7th graders to take it.
All right, thank you. That's good to know.
Okay, we are getting to the finish line here.
Labella did actually ask a great question. Will the program be for spring and summer, or it will be separate? Because last year, I believe the Kaplan was for summertime, or it went into summer.
Yeah, last year went into summer because we didn't start it until June. This year, if we were to do it, we could probably get it started by April. So the program itself would just go through the end of the year, but students would have access all the way through the exam to all the online Kaplan materials.
Great.
That would go through next year even.
Terrific.
So nothing,
yeah.
no in-person stuff over the summer remotely.
No, we kind of judged that. The city didn't even really know that was happening, as all the money's supposed to be spent by June, but we just kind of said, yeah, it was finished by June, but let the students continue over the summertime. Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thanks. Mrs. McDonald, yes.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to get, or maybe helpful to get more feedback from students who did that Kaplan course. I mean, my sense that with online school, it was a lot to then have Kaplan at the end of the school day on top of that. And there's a lot of, there are practice tests, there's homework for Kaplan, and then over the summer was a chance to, it just wasn't on top of the school day. And it's also just closer to, at least when the test was supposed to be scheduled. I know it ended up getting moved months later, but if it ends in May or June, that's a long gap before the test. And the summer, it was like a little bit closer to when the test was actually going to be.
Yeah. At the same time, sometimes we like the kids to have a summer of doing other non-academic things. So, I like freedom of choice. We offer things and they don't. Well, not. Okay, and the final one I think is Vito, the PTO update. Oh, Sandra, do you have a question?
Sorry, just one more piece of feedback. It might I totally agree with you, Mr. File, in terms of giving the kids a break, but
Stop right there. I like when people agree with me.
um, but there's a but regardless, most of the parents will send their kids off to another program if we don't provide it here. That's a given.
Right.
And for those parents who are, scrapping their money together because of the pandemic, or if they don't have a job, this is a huge save if our school can fund it.
Yeah.
And not just the book. I just got reminded they have a lot of tests online. So if you spread them out, just this past SHSAT, not sure how the 8th graders here felt, but as a parent, I ran out of tests for my kid. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, take another test this weekend. Oh, we're doing repeats. So, maybe this year, this upcoming SHSAT for this year will be on time. But given that, this past year was not, the extra tests provided by Kaplan was very useful.
Yep. I agree. And any way we can help and deal with the reality. I like what you're saying in terms of whether we do it or not. It'll get done, but it'll end up costing parents money. So, and that's the reality, even if we have a philosophy of let's let the kids have a great summer. And, listen, you could take a Kaplan class and still have a great summer doing other things. So it's not a, binary choice. So, but thank you. That's really valuable feedback. And John, do you think we could, do that again?
Yeah, it's definitely doable if that's what we want to do. With more time to plan, that's kind of why I would like to send something home to the 8th graders that just participated in the fall classes with Mr. Shiner and Miss Ng, because Mr. Shiner was sending me feedback the whole time that his students were telling him that they thought his English section was better than the Kaplan. That could just be, those are the things he's forwarding me, but it seemed like some students really enjoyed his class. So maybe we'd want to just do our own. Yeah, it's hard to tell. Some people want to do one, some want the other.
You're saying he didn't forward you all the ones that said Kaplan was better?
Yeah, probably not.
That's not true. That's not true. He really, Mr. Shiner and Miss.
Oh, he works very hard on his class. That's why also, yeah.
He does. He takes it very seriously. And Miss Ng does as well. It's a good,
Yeah.
I mean, we have really good instructors. We're very lucky. It's a great program. I don't want to compare it to other programs, but I always think that we're like right at the top in the NIA world. And didn't we get a really good review from Harry?
Yep, we had the city came to visit and we showed them a couple classes. Miss Mack is here with us. They went to her class. And we also went to the Links program, and he was wowed. He really liked what we had the students doing and how much they were participating, even though everyone's at home.
Yep.
And yeah, they seem that they're going to be letting us alone, that they see how hard we're working remotely. They're not going to try to force us to go in person anytime soon. So yeah. It's working out well.
Great. And he's a very serious guy, and he liked our program a lot. So, okay. So let's see what we got here.
Vito's up.
Oh, Vito, do you have a PTO update for us?
Very briefly, I won't keep everybody. So a classroom, thanks for feedback from the 8th grade parents. We were going to do a studio on Flatbush Avenue, but we changed it. Now we're looking at that same week, but we're going to do it in the school if school is open. So we're talking about April, I believe it's 24th. Yeah, so April 24th and 25th, we're going to use a Sign Up Genius to do 8th grade kids first, the cohort kids that are in school, and then for the remote kids, they could show up after school. We've decided that we could get permit between 2 and 5, because once 5 o'clock comes, then schools empty out and we can't get anything. This is, of course, if schools are open, then we're keeping our fingers crossed till we do that. And then we're also going to allow kids to take pictures, even if they're in 7th or 6th grade, and it'll be individual pictures, and then we'll put them, virtually into their little cohorts. So whatever cohorts they're in, where the remote kids are in a cohort, or the blended kids are in a cohort, we would put them in like a virtual class kind of thing and offer that to them. So that was Ms. Siddiqui's idea. So we could get to, give some memory to these kids for the classmates they've been working with for the last year. So graduation, Mr. Berman and we're in touch with the Ford Amphitheater. There are going to be a lot of changes in the way it's set up because it's no longer controlled by Live Nation. It is going to be a cabaret style. So they're going to be tables. So think a huge cabaret with a stage. And this is what they're doing for the space. And we would have to conform to what they're doing for the space. So think of it as tables, a table surrounded by 6 chairs each. And those chairs would be, those tables would be separated as per regulation. And, it's a huge space, so we could figure out how many kids we could have and whether we're doing just kids and we're beaming it out, whether we're doing kids and 1 parent, whether we're doing kids with, 2 parents. But that's all something that we're going to have a seating chart and options available within the next couple of weeks. And the DOE also put out some guidance about graduation, I believe, that says they are going to work with everyone to see that there is some kind of physical presence for a graduation, and that's very exciting. And the PTO will certainly support that any way that we can. CEC elections are coming up, so please spread the word. Every family gets 1 vote. I am running again. I can't campaign here, but wink, wink, nod, nod. If you like me, do what you have to do. PTO elections, we're wondering if we are supposed to have elections this year, or if they're going to hold it off until September. So we can't get a straight answer on that. I would prefer to wait till September. That way we get the incoming 6th grade parents and we have the potential for more participation. I am going to need parents, not PTA parents, who can come and do an audit for our books. They want everyone to have an audit. So sometime maybe in May or June, if the parents here that are on the PTA, Wink and whoever's left, don't run away, Wink and Sandra and Kathy, if you guys can maybe get together as a committee, there's a form you fill out. We show you all of the income coming in. We show you the expenses. You just make sure that, there's nothing missing compared to the bank accounts. We're not stealing any money, and you sign off on it. But we are going to need help from our parents to do an audit, and please put that in the back of your head and help us out when the time comes. I think that's pretty much it for me. PTO meeting. Our meeting is going to be on March 23rd. And that's it. Anybody have any questions on that?
Okay.
No.
Kids, anything? You guys happy? Want to get out? Outside, I mean. So I think we covered enough ground. We wanted to make this. Yeah, Sandra, you have a question?
I have a couple of questions, if I may ask.
Couple of questions. Stay with that, guys. I'm just kidding.
Hopefully quick. It might be yes, we have an answer. No, we just have to wait. So,
okay.
I heard about Regents Algebra 1. Even though we, get a waiver on some, definitely Algebra 1 we won't get a waiver on. Will that be in person, or how are we going to administer it, or it's just wait and see what the decision is?
There's no information about that yet at all.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Have you guys heard about SHSAT results and when that date is, and high school admissions, when that date is? Okay.
No.
Some stuff kind of went into a black hole and there's nothing online. So.
We're just no, you won't find anything like that. We're just getting in the final high school applications.
Okay.
So I would say that's at least a month or 2 off.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, Steve, you have your hand up.
Yes, I'm so sorry that I joined the meeting late. I was in Manhattan. So I was the one that actually put the camera policy on the agenda today. I think I caught the tail end of it. Did we talk about that? What happened was heard through a couple of students that, you know, the teachers was giving them a hard time about the camera being on, and they couldn't physically turn it on because of software problems or hardware problems. And some of these cameras are built into their computers, and they were just having a hard time. So I might ask the teachers to give the students a little bit of discretion, maybe ease up on.
I would say,
discipline.
well, we talked about our policy, and our policy is that students don't need to put their cameras on. But if you have a particular issue, then I would certainly say to first discuss that with the teacher, and then certainly with the grade AP in a particular circumstance where you're seeing a problem. But the general policy is that not only do students not have to put their cameras on, but teachers don't either. So that's where we are.
Okay, great.
That said, you know, teachers will sometimes encourage kids to do it because it is, you know, sometimes better to teach the class that way, as long as it's an encouragement.
It sure is, right.
You're finding, right, and again, I think if you're finding an issue, I would encourage the parent to certainly discuss that with the individual teacher, and if they're not comfortable with that, then certainly the grade AP, that's what we're here for.
Okay, I'll relay the message. I'll be happy to do it.
Please, and if they feel uncomfortable with that, I would encourage, Mr. Labella is another great source. You can certainly go to him. We communicate all the time. He is a parent confidant. He's only got your interests and the interests of the students in mind. So I would, you know, that's another option too for families.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's all I got.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, I think that's it. If no one else has any other questions.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Mr. File.
Thanks. No, thank you. Thank everyone for coming. I know it was a day we all want to rush out of the house, but I think it was very productive. So
Always is. And we'll be in touch again, as always. You know, reach out, any of our members, you know, reach out, you know, we're on the list together, reach out to each other, reach out to me, reach out to Mr. File, anybody who you feel comfortable talking with about any issues or concerns or ideas, or just send it out to the whole group, and we'll talk about it. I look forward to seeing you all soon, and just have a great day. Talk to you all soon.